a world where every story matters. There exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27
It's Good Morning Uganda. Welcome once again. My name is Olive Monica Najoma. Thank you so much for being a part of the program. Now, we know that women's businesses are very important, and yet, according to the public procurement, we also know that public procurement is a powerful tool of economic empowerment, yet women's businesses remain at 1%. They get 1% of the awarded contracts. That's why we are here today, to delve into this conversation and also know why it is this way and what solutions are being made to ensure that women can get more contracts awarded to their businesses. Today we will explore the challenges women face in accessing procurement opportunities, but also the impact the LIFT project has on the same. And in this discussion, I will be speaking to Mr. Ronald Tumuhaire, who is the manager, PPDA Local Content, and also Mr. Gilbert Sendugwa, who is the ED Africa Freedom of Information Center. And my name is Olive Monica Najuma. Now, the gentlemen are here with me. First of all, good morning, Mr. Tumuhaire.
Good morning, Olive.
Yes.
Thank you for having us here today, and a good morning to all the viewers. Like you've said, I'm Ronald Tumuhaire, manager local content at the PPDA, and local content is basically about mainstreaming and making sure the interests of the private sector are put at the forefront in procurement of government goods, services and works.
Okay, and you're most welcome, Mr. Sendugwa.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Olive, and good morning, dear viewers. Greetings from the Africa Freedom of Information Center, which is a Pan-African network of CSOs that promote access to information, transparency and accountability of governments and businesses, inclusion of women and other marginalized groups, and also climate justice. We are very pleased to be here, and we have been pleased to partner with PPDA on promoting women's participation in public procurement in Uganda.
Okay. Now that we have a clear understanding of who our guests are, let's get into the conversation. I'll start with you, Mr. Tumuhaire. Why have women-led businesses historically struggled to access public procurement opportunities?
Thank you. In Uganda and basically in the African setting, there are very many social-related and historical restrictions for which women specifically have been held aback. There are very many restrictions that have hindered their economic progression, and in fact, when you look at the perspectives of the social settings within Uganda, Africa at large, you'll find that women many times have been set back, and they have not been brought into the action and the center of things. So as such, because of these social and historic restrictions, many women have been held back. Many of them don't believe in themselves. The social settings themselves have not allowed them to believe in themselves. So you realize that many times they are not in the space where the action, the business, the money is, you know. They are in the back. They are actually doing very small things. Largely, they are restricted to caregiving in families, and this has definitely had an impact on how it is that they are able to support their children, how it is that they are able to support their own spouses, and even support themselves. So as a regulator of public procurement, one of our mandates is to set public procurement standards and also create a balance of how procurement contributes to society like Uganda. When we are speaking procurement, we are talking of actually spend, you know, and we are using spend as a tool to empower citizens across the board. So as a government and as a country, there are many tools at our disposal. Procurement is just one of those tools. We have the understanding that about 60% and more of our national budget is actually expended through procurement. The buying of goods, the buying of services. So this is one of the avenues that government has identified to empower women, to call them into the center of things and tell them, those of you that are entrepreneurs, this is what government is procuring. What of this can you supply? And we are actually opening eyes of these entrepreneurs that have dedicated their lives to starting up businesses. When you look at business startups, when you look at entrepreneurs in this country, you'll find that a big percentage of them is women, you know, trying to like start up a living, start up something that can generate income for their families, for their communities. And so government has seen this, and we are saying, okay, amidst these challenges that you face, amidst these barriers that you face, come to the table, you know, come and participate in public procurement. Government is buying so much. Government is buying catering services. Government is buying construction of different projects, is procuring supplies of different sorts, stationaries, talk of equipment. What of these are you involved in? And so we are trying to break these barriers, but largely the barriers are related to social norms and historic restrictions, which eventually point towards them being limited in terms of finances, them being limited in terms of perspectives like self-belief. You'll find that about 70% of every 100 women do not exactly believe they can do the things that they are actually able to do, you know. So they are restricted in such a way, and also the society itself has restricted them. You know, there are spaces where when women go, they feel unwelcome, and this is in business. Look at the construction industry, you know. You will find that women are not actually welcome. When you find one woman in construction, she's facing a lot of challenges, including people not believing that this is her business, this is her knowledge, this is her investment, you know?
So some areas have been dominated by men.
Exactly.
And it's hard for women to penetrate.
Very hard for them to actually penetrate, and basically because of these perceptions. Yeah? Sometimes they even have the money, or they have the government support. Government has put different capital funds, but the women are not going there, you know. because of those kinds of restrictions. And we have conducted some of these surveys around, and in fact you will find that they are actually saying, no, that is not our calling. So eventually they go into these small things which you find that are actually overly congested. If it's business where everyone is stationary, you know,
Everyone
the cleaning
has a
services, so you'll find everyone is into clothing,
Yes.
into boutiques,
Yes.
and they leave those other spaces. And eventually government is also struggling, because if you have just a handful of people that are doing the same thing over and over, you are almost at their mercy. They have a lot of influence over you. If it's a few suppliers, what it is that they dictate, you actually are going to go with that because you have limited competition, you know?
Okay.
Yes.
So from what you've shared, what I get is that we have many women in business,
That's right.
but many of them are aligning themselves with the female-centric side of business, the easy stuff. They're not trying to break the barriers when it comes to the other sectors, maybe like you mentioned, construction, there is engineering, and so much more. Now we have oil and gas, and many men are investing and getting contracts with the government. But when you look for the women, very few are representing. So if you're just joining us, we are looking at the issues that women-led businesses face, especially when it comes to getting procurement contracts from the government. Still with you, Mr. Tumhaire.
Yes.
How does limited access to information affect women-led businesses?
Thank you, Olive. Information is actually everything. When it comes to public procurement, we are talking of access to procurement opportunities in terms of information. And many times we realize that where this information actually is has actually been limited in one way or another. For example, it's put in specific media, it's in specific languages, specifically English. Sometimes it's hidden in technical language, and this information is the key to accessing these opportunities. Now, as a regulator of public procurement, we have some basic standards that we expect government procuring and disposing entities to abide by, and be able to break some of these limitations on access to information. One of those key principles or standards is expectation that transparency is promoted and upheld. Transparency of information to do with government procuring opportunities. And by all means, we expect that entities are able to subscribe to transparency, not only limited to newspapers and the bidding documents, but in all forms and by all means, to ensure that information is transparently available and made available to the different people. Besides that, the number of other things that the PPDA is charged with, for example, enforcing and assuring compliance to the standards provided for. So where people are not being transparent, it is the responsibility actually of government bodies such as the PPDA to impose it upon these buying entities to actually avail information and avail it in all channels and media for which women and citizens of this country can access these opportunities. Sometimes we have seen opportunities actually or contracts awarded, and people start to question, how was this awarded? We didn't see any of these actually put out there in the paper, or actually, you know, it was just a contract that we saw awarded to someone. Or some people actually even participate in these processes, but unfortunately, they realize that a contract got awarded, but they never heard from the entity about their participation. When and how did I fall out of the race, you know? And as a regulatory body, PPDA, one of our tasks is actually to ensure that entities comply. And also, still part of our mandate as PPDA is to create awareness, to create sensitization and build capacity of the different groups of people and citizens of this country on how to access information. You will find that we have platforms on the website, such as the government procurement portal. In fact, we also have a fully fledged system called the electronic government procurement system, and these systems have been put in place by government to provide information on these opportunities. But you'll find that 1 in every 5 business people actually do not know that they can go to these platforms and actually look at things like procurement plans, bid notices showing which entity is buying what and when. So it is also incumbent upon us as government bodies, and specifically for procurement as PPDA, to create awareness. We are trying to do some of these things at the scale that we can. We should be doing this at a grand scale. We are hoping that better days are going to come, and we're going to be splashing and putting most of this information before all those that need it, and people are able to identify that, oh, there is an opportunity here, there is an opportunity there, let me try to participate. And in fact, there are actually so many opportunities on any given day, in any given week. There is a minimum of 5 entities that are advertising for tenders and saying we need the following things, and unfortunately, sometimes